Hey everybody, this is Jeff, and out here in the backyard, Judy's got the sprinkler going, and I am here to do this Facebook Live workshop on building your team, or recruiting, as some people like to call it. So here we go. First thing I'd like to say is recruiting is not necessarily a problem to be solved, but rather it's a tension to be managed. And what I mean by that is you're always going to have, wherever I go, people ask me, or I ask them, how do I pray for you? And the common response is, well, we need more volunteers. So you're always going to be recruiting volunteers, always looking for new people, always trying to build your team. So recruiting is an ongoing thing. Secondly, recruiting, I would say, is not a static activity. It's a dynamic activity. What I mean by that is, some people, what you do at game time affects your recruiting. I.e., if the people are not having fun, your team members are not having fun, they're not going to want to serve. What you do at large group time, how you manage your club discipline, all those kind of things. Hey, Dorinda. All those kind of things are reflect on your recruiting. So you need to make sure that everything's right in your club first, and then you can recruit more team members. So next point, what's your attitude about recruiting? Are you using people? So are we looking to recruit people for your thing? Mr. Mo. Or are you looking for an opportunity for, how can this be a benefit to them? And if you believe that you're trying to find people to use them for your ministry, you might not have the same success as if you see your recruiting activity as something to benefit them. What are you recruiting to? Is your ministry something that people like or will like? Are you proud of your ministry? Or is it something, hey, we got chaos going on here. We got all kinds of problems. I need more volunteers. So what's your attitude about your ministry? My next point is how to create the right environment for success. I think the most important thing is your club disciplined? And so what I mean by that is when you are asking people to join your team, are you you're like, hey, this chaos here. We got all kinds of kids running all over the place. The kids are running crazy. We need your help. Would you like to join our ministry? Or are you sharing the ministry successes? And hey, we're reaching kids with the gospel. We're praying with them. We're discipling with them. And so are you creating the right environment for success? Is your ministry fun and exciting for your volunteers? Or is it something that's difficult for them? So make sure that's there. Do you have a written job description for your volunteers? So you're asking people to serve. And what do you ask them to serve for? So do you have some kind of a job description that you want people to do? So that's the next point. And then do you provide adequate training? Are you training your people? Or are you just saying, hey, we need help, and you throw them in with the kids and do the best you can as a sink or swim? So are you providing adequate training? My next point is, are you creating the right message? And so, like I said before, is your message, hey, we've got so many kids in here, we can't keep track of them, and we need your help. It's crazy in here. Or is the message, we're discipling kids, we're praying with them, we're sharing the love of Jesus with them, and what's your message to your people? My next point I'd say is, as I would suggest, replacing the word volunteer and serve with the word joining our team. And so words matter, and people want to be part of a team. They might not necessarily want to volunteer and serve, but they want to be part of a team. So consider that of changing your vocabulary a little bit. Create a culture where everybody's part of a team. So we have a Sparks team, we have a TNT team, we have our secretary team. People want to be part of a team. Consider the team process as your second step in bringing in parents. So parents are part of the Sparks team, whether they serve at Sparks or not. Parents are part of the TNT team, whether they serve it or not. And have that as a second step in your parenting integration process. And somehow they can serve in your club, even though they may not wear a shirt. How can they serve in your club? Next point, empower your your club directors to what I call RTMO, recruit, train, motivate, and organize. So have each of your directors recruit for their team. So if you're the AMD, the Awana Ministry Director of your club, and you feel like you have to do all the recruiting for everybody, it might be a little overwhelming. But if you say, hey, you're the Sparks Director, build your team. If you're the TNT Director, build your team, and I'll help you support that. But you're helping your directors build their team. So if we have the right attitude, we have the right message, what are the tools we can use to recruit? Number one, obviously, is pray. Secondly, I would say have a kickoff announcement at your church on a Sunday morning. You can use Awana's got a You Belong YouTube video. You can use that, or have a team member, one of your team members, share their testimony of their story, discipling kids. They prayed with the kids. They maybe led a child to Christ. Share those testimonies. So again, the message is not, hey, we're just trying to babysit kids. The message is we're discipling them, and this is a good thing, and it's very rewarding for people who serve. And then as part of that, set up a table in the foyer and a way to gather their contact info. My next thought would be host a church-wide ministry fair. So all the ministries in a church, all ministries need volunteers. So what a ministry fair is, say in your fellowship hall after a Sunday morning service, each of the ministry, the men's ministry, the women's ministry, they all, we would do this at our church. They would set up a booth, a table with a display, and have a chance to share about their ministry. And so the pastor would after the service, would send people over to the fellowship hall. There'd be some coffee and food and stuff like that. And all the ministries would have a chance to share about their ministry, to recruit volunteers for men's ministry. All the different ministries in the church need help. Find preschool parents. Preschool moms are very reluctant to leave their kids. Maybe when they're in TNT, maybe not so much, but when they're cubby, find preschool parents who want to serve in your ministry. And these are all subject to child protection issues and so on and so forth. But if you have preschool moms who will serve, we used to do at our church, when the cubbies would serve parents would bring a snack, they'd be assigned a snack week. And on the days they have snack, that we would ask them to stay and serve. And so then, hey, you're doing really good. Hey, you know what? You would look good in a blue shirt. And then 2 years later, they trade their blue shirt for a red shirt. And then 3 years later, they change their red shirt for a green shirt. So at the young age, it's good to find people who can serve those preschoolers, because the moms don't want to leave. And then they're going to be involved in your club for an extended period of time. Use student leaders. So if you have Trekker and Journey students, or if you don't, you just have teenagers from your youth group, find student leaders. And I know at our club, we couldn't do Awana without our student leaders. Probably, maybe half of our leaders are student leaders. And so when we say it's adult mentor or student-led, adult mentored. So the students lead a lot of our club, praying with the kids, discipling the kids, and then our adults have dual ministry. They have a ministry to the children, but they also have ministry to the teens. So that's another thought. Use dads for game time. So if you have a rotating set of dads, and say, hey, can you lead game time once a month? Have a little training. The dads want to serve. They like doing games, and then let them serve once a month. So that's another idea. You can use the senior saints, and I would say use them part-time or full-time if they want. But sometimes the senior saints are traveling. They have family in and out, and they're not want to commit to every week. But hey, if they can commit to once a month, great. So if you can have a senior saint who will, lead a small group when you're in a pinch, or if you can have a senior saint who will do the Bible lesson once a month. Or what about if you had senior saints as security? There's a club down in Arizona, and they give them yellow vests, and their security, i.e. hospitality. People come in, and they welcome them, they say hello, and that's another way. And you're involving more people in the ministry. What if you had some senior saints who just helped with check-in? Check-in's kind of a crazy time. What if if the club starts at 6, can you get there at 5:45 and stay till 6:15? And maybe you have some senior saints who just would want to do that. They don't want to be involved with kids. Maybe they have difficulty with hearing, etc. But they can come and serve in your check-in. What if you have a senior saint who wants to serve in your Awana store? And so you can say, hey, here's how we need you to purchase this stuff. Go to the dollar store. Give them instructions on what you'd expect from Awana store, and then let them do Awana store once a month or a quarter or however often you do it. What if you had on-call volunteers? So you ask some people, and they might not want to serve every week, but they'll say, hey, we'll serve when somebody's sick. We'll be a substitute. So, and then you bring those people in, and you love on those people, and they're part of your team, and then who knows? Maybe they'll want to serve full time. The other thing, like I said before, empower others to recruit. If you're the Awana ministry director, you don't have to recruit everybody. Matter of fact, you travel in circles in the church, but there's other people that in your club who travel in different circles, and they meet different people. And so empower them. Hey, build your team. We need, you can empower, or you can recruit volunteers as well. Another idea or another thought would be, think about recruiting one-on-one. So if you found somebody and you asked them, hey, I think you'd be really good at this. Would you pray about serving in our games? Or would you pray about serving, about discipling small group, whatever you think they'd be good at? And imagine the compliment that gives people when you say, hey, I think you'd be really good at X. Would you pray about serving in our club? And if you're thinking about them and the Lord's prompting them, then they will serve. And so you want to just get people praying and thinking about serving. So there's some ideas on recruiting. I would say the other thing is, what's the best way to recruit is one person at a time. So you have one person, and then you build another person, and then you find another person, and then you find another person. So building your team is not a one-shot deal. It's an ongoing thing you need to be doing. So now here's some thoughts on retaining your volunteers. Now, like I talked to some people, and their volunteer is like people come in and out. And so if you want to keep your volunteers, keep your team members, here's some ideas. So have a written job description. So you're asking people that you want them to serve, but what are you asking them to do? Make your expectations very clear, because if they don't know what you want them to do, how do they define their success? And if they feel like they're a failure, they're not going to want to serve. So have a written job description for every team role. All your team roles have a written job description. I want to provide some of that on the website, or make your own. Do a basic training for your new volunteers and maybe your existing volunteers. So, I mean, how many times, and I was horrible at this, how many times we say, hey, we need your help. Why don't you come in and here's the kids, the handbook time, and just work with the kids in their book. Well, what does that mean? And so have a basic training and equip your volunteers, equip your team members so that they know exactly what's expected of them. You could provide online training. Awana has some of that, or you could make your own. So you can do the training once, record it, and give it to your team members. You can do that. Like I say, Awana provide some online training. Invite your team members or encourage your team members to the Awana Ministry Conference so they can see a bigger picture of how their role fits in with reaching kids across the area, not only at their church, and they get a chance to meet other people and other people in the same situation. And so invite them to the Awana Ministry Conference, and don't paint the picture that, hey, this is something you have to go, but this is an opportunity for you to meet other people, get equipped, get refreshed, get encouraged. So that's a thought. Have what I like to call KIT calls, K-I-T, keep in touch. So if you're the Awana Ministry Director and you have club directors, you want to be calling those club directors every week. And under the auspice, like this is what I used to do, is I would call them every week and say, hey, it's Crazy Hat Night, so is there anything you need from me? And sometimes it would go like, hey, no, everything's good. We have our Bible lesson. We have small group. There's other times where they had needs. Maybe they need something in the club. Maybe they have family needs. Maybe they have family circumstance. So if you're the Awana Ministry Director, you have a chance to show these people that you're not just using them for your ministry. You want to disciple them and be with them and and help them. And it's just a different feel when you're building your team that way. So call all your directors weekly, and then encourage your directors to call their leaders weekly for the same reason. So we might not all have the answers, but sometimes there's just comfort in us being all together. Ask your club directors for a written job description of every one of their team roles. Now, the reason for this is to get your club directors to be able to articulate what their expectations are for their leaders. So when they have to write it down, they have to articulate in their own mind what they want from these people. What do they want from a game person? What's their role at game time? Where do they need to stand? Where do they need to go? What do you expect from them at large group time? Even if they're not teaching the Bible lesson, what are your expectations for them? And then when you do your trainings, let your club directors train their leaders. So that way, there's some ownership there. And if the club directors are training their team, then if you're the one doing the training, if you're the one ministry director and you're the one doing the training, you might not be training the way the club director wants the club to go. And if things go haywire, then they're going to blame you. But if the club director has ownership and they do the training and they equip their leaders and they tell them exactly what their expectations are, then they're going to have ownership and they're going to make it work. So have your club directors provide a written job description. The next point is thank your team members continually. So always be thanking them and thanking them for their role in reaching kids for the kingdom. So thank them with cards. You can thank them with text. You can thank them with Facebook messages. You can thank them with, give them a call when you're doing your kit calls. And thank your team members continually. Build community within your team. So the idea is, hey, we just don't want everybody showing up on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock and then at 7:30 we go home and we don't see each other the rest of the week. How can you build community within your team? So, for instance, most of my best friends at I serve with in our Awana club. And we vacation together. We spend time together. They disciple my kids. I disciple their kids. We have a community of people in our club that we go camping together, all these kind of things. So figure out ways to build community. Have events outside of club where you can build community with these people. And the other thing is, don't lose people. Okay, listen to this. Don't lose people because you don't allow them to contribute their ideas to your ministry. So if people have ideas, listen. And if they're good ideas, let them implement them or let them try them. Because sometimes it's frustrating. I mean, now there's a balance to that we want to make sure we're there's a balance to that. But let your team members contribute to the planning, to the execution, to different ideas. And even if they may have better ideas than you, and even if their ideas are not better, sometimes let them use their ideas because you're building in the team. And then if it's a success, great. If it's not, then you could say, hey, what'd you learn from that? And so anyway, those are some of my thoughts on building a team. It's not just asking people to volunteer. They show up at Wednesday night at 6 o'clock and that's it. There's so much more to building a team, community. How you're doing at your club. How's your large group time? How's your discipline? What's your attitude? Is your club worthy of recruiting people too? I mean, are you excited about, would you serve in your club? You do serve in your club, but would you recruit yourself? Or would you say yes if you ask yourself? And if you have to question that, then fix it. Fix the club so it's a good experience for the kids, good experience for the leaders. So that's all I have. Thanks again so much for all you're doing. And undoubtedly, there'll be children in heaven because of what happens at your club on Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, whenever it is. So thank you. Appreciate all you're doing. And we will see y'all down the road.